Services hang out in the background, processing, downloading, or uploading data while the phone is locked or the user is using unrelated apps. This is nice, but you might be wondering how services are started in the first place. There are 3 ways to start a service. You can manually start a service, you can schedule a service, or you can bind to a service. The most straightforward way to start a service is to call the start service method from a context, such as an activity. The service will execute, but will not usually communicate back to the component which started it. If you want to have a service execute at some point in the future, or when some conditions are met, you can create a special type of service called a job service. You create your job service, and then you define when the job should run using a scheduler, like Job Scheduler or Firebase Job Dispatcher. They allow you to define complex run schedules for your service, like have a service run every 24 hours when on Wi-Fi. Then the scheduler schedules the job for you. We'll be talking about scheduling services like this in greater detail later. Finally, a bound service offers a client-server-like interface, with your service being the server, and the various components binding to the service being the clients. Components bind to the service using the bind service method. Unlike started services, which you tend to start and then forget about, bound services can easily communicate back to the components that are bound to them. An example of when you might use a bound service is a media player application. You might have a bound service which plays audio, and an activity which controls the UI. It's important to use a bound service as opposed to a started service because you probably want to update the UI to represent where in the audio you are. If you press the pause button in the activity, you might also want to send additional commands to the service from the activity. Note that a service being bound or started is not mutually exclusive. A service can be both. We'll be using services in Sunshine in 2 ways. First, when the user changes their location, new weather data needs to be immediately downloaded in the background. Secondly, weather data should be downloaded on a regular schedule in the background. Because of this, I won't say much more about bound services, but if you're curious about them, I provided some links below. I'll be focusing on started services and scheduled job services. Let's talk about started services first.